Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny is the latest Nicktoons game developed by Fairplay Labs and published by GameMill Entertainment. It is the same team that brought you the Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl games. This time the game takes on a more adventure fantasy RPG aesthetic. But is it any good? And why do games cost so dang much? Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to Danny Phantom Month. Every year on this channel I like to make videos themed around my favorite show, Danny Phantom, during the month of October. This year is exciting because we have two new releases from the franchise. The first, of course, being Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny, and then later on in early November we have the release of the new graphic novel, Danny Phantom Fair Game. So please consider subscribing if you don't want to miss out. And also check out some of my other Danny Phantom content, like this video about what if they made the show into a live-action reboot. Check it out. Woo. Yummy, yummy. If you recognize any of these characters, you may be old enough to have a cold one. So the setup for this game is that Timmy Turner makes a wish to be a part of a legally distinct Dungeons & Dragons type adventure. And in Fairly Odd Parents fashion, he gets a little bit more than he bargained for. It's a very be careful what you wish for, there's jokes, adventure, and then we all go home learning a valuable lesson about honesty or some such nonsense. So all your favorite Nickelodeon's boys from the early 2000s are back, plus the Rugrats and specifically the 2012 Ninja Turtles. We got SpongeBob, Danny, Timmy Turner, Jimmy Neutron, Sandy Cheeks, XJ9 from My Life as a Teenage Robot. We got Katara from Avatar. We have Susie from Rugrats, and Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles. All your favorite boys get sucked into a magical, not D&D world, and they gotta figure out what's going on and how to get out. They gotta find all of the Dice of Destiny, because whoever has them all has them all. But uh-oh, the bad guy girl bosses of each franchise have teamed up and they're causing trouble. We got Azula, Ember, and Angelica. I'm gonna tell my kids this is Huntrix. Yes, that's right, the genocidal Fire Lord Princess, the teen idol ghost with mind control abilities, and a 3-year-old girl have all teamed up. The most dangerous of all the Nickelodeon multiverse. I guess you could argue that it sort of makes sense for all these characters to be involved. This game takes place in a world of magic and make-believe, so I don't know. If I'm being generous, it's not the strangest pairing, but still, it's a little weird. I find it a little strange the Rugrats are here at all, since they're more of a 90s thing than an early 2000s thing, unlike the rest of the cast. If they wanted to be really accurate, they should have gone with Rugrats all grown up, the teenage iteration of those characters who went to high school and skateboarded. All grown up, I really want to shout it out, all grown up with you. The 2012 Ninja Turtles are also here, specifically that version, which is very strange to me because it's at least 2 versions behind the current Ninja Turtles and is like, has its fans for sure, but is not as like classic or iconic as the original 80s cartoon that we saw basically those versions in All-Star Brawl. And they got all the voice actors too. Friggin' Sean Astin is in this game.
You go take care of the Dungeon Master. Somebody's got to stay behind and babysit Mikey.
And again, this is 2012, so it's 2010's era, slightly past when the rest of these characters are from. And this game does seem to be like playing with nostalgia a bit, so I'm like a little confused on why those versions specifically. And yes, only Leonardo is playable, despite the other turtles being present in the game. One of many signs that this game did not like have the time that it wanted to be finished. I guess it's nice that they're there, but it's weird when you can like talk to Raphael and Michelangelo and then you're like, hey, are you guys gonna like come help us on this mission? And they're just like, nah.
I'd go with you, but I don't want to.
Same with Team Avatar, only Katara is playable. Sokka's just there, hanging out. not doing anything. Later on in the game, you meet Zuko and Aang, and they also don't do anything, just kind of hanging out in the hub world. At least when they did a similar thing in Volcano Island, you had characters like Squidward or Tucker hanging out in the hub world who weren't playable, but also those characters aren't really fighters or adventurers, so it was fine that they weren't. But when you can only play as one of the 4 Ninja Turtles and I can see the other 3 are present, it's just like, what are we doing? I do appreciate some of the references here, like they bring up how the 2012 Ninja Turtles had an episode that was already based on D&D, and they like reference how this is kind of similar to that episode. And they're even dressed like their characters were in that episode. They do this for all the characters. Everyone gets like a medieval fantasy-esque redesign. So like SpongeBob is cast as a knight, so he is wearing that outfit from that one Medieval Times episode. Remember that episode? Sandy is a barbarian because remember the Dirty Dan episode? Remember that? That is a thing. Danny is cast as a rogue, which kind of fits his power set, and he's like dressed kind of similar to this one moment from the episode Infinite Realms where he is like dressed like a samurai for like 10 seconds, but it's not exactly the same. So that might be a reference, or maybe it's a bit of a stretch, I don't know. And then the rest of the characters just kind of like whatever. It is kind of nice to have the original 4 Nickelodeon boys back. We got Danny, SpongeBob, Jimmy, and Timmy. And they like sort of reference that maybe the earlier Nicktoons games happened.
Hey, you seem mighty familiar. Do I know you from somewhere?
I don't see how, but I feel like we've met before too.
But they don't remember it for sure. It's kind of just a couple lines of dialogue that are like fan service, but don't really affect anything. So, I don't know. Almost all of the original cast for all of these characters return to voice them in this game, which is nice. It's kind of cool that it's 2025 and we're getting new Danny Phantom lines from David Kaufman.
Did we miss the show?
Don't worry, with Ember, there's always an encore, whether you like it or not.
We also get like sort of an unofficial reunion between him and Valerie as Cree Summer voices Susie from Rugrats. But for some strange reason, none of the Avatar characters have their voice actors return, even though most of them are still acting and still around. Like, you could probably call them. They got Sean Astin to play Raphael in this game, even though he's not a playable character. But you couldn't get like Mae Whitman to be Katara for some reason. Some stuff I understand. Zach Tyler is no longer a child, so he doesn't sound like Aang anymore. And like they did a pretty good job with the sound alikes they got for both Zuko and Azula.
Oh, Zuko here.
He said the thing! He said the thing! But then it also doesn't make sense because Grey Delisle, who voices Vicky later in the game, and she's also the voice of Azula. She's already in this game. Just get her to voice the character that she plays. It's just very strange. I'm just trying to like understand why they couldn't get any of the Avatar characters when they could get like Sean Astin, director of SAG-AFTRA himself, president of acting union, not too busy to reprise his role as Ninja Turtle number 3 in Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny, a game that nobody but me cares about. The gameplay for this is pretty simple. It's very reminiscent of something like Gauntlet Dark Legacy, a PS2 favorite of mine.
In an ancient time, the evil mage Garm, using the power of the runestones, released a great evil upon the land.
You're mostly just mashing attack and making your way through a very simple level with a bunch of enemies. Sometimes you gotta hit a switch or whatever to progress, but it's pretty straightforward. There are some RPG elements. You do level up as you go, but it's mostly just like my numbers go up, so I do slightly more damage now. There's not that much like strategy to how you level up. Each character does play fairly differently. Jimmy, for example, can summon or like invent different defense style towers, so he's better at crowd control. Katara is like a healer. Danny is a rogue, so he has all his ghost powers. He can do the shadow clone jutsu. He can even turn invisible and then do like extra bonus damage, or you can just sneak past all the enemies and skip half the level. The game does have co-op, but I don't have any friends, so I played it by myself and, you know, it was fine. I'm sure it would be more fun with friends, but, you know, you can say that about any game. If you're playing this, it's not because you're looking for gameplay that's especially challenging or unique. You're probably playing it because you like these characters. That being said, there is a lot of jank when it comes to this game. The levels themselves have a lot of repeated content within each world, and there's just kind of a general clunkiness to the way that the characters move through the levels. Multiple times I found myself getting stuck on just the geometry of the level and would have to restart it. There was this one time I was playing as Jimmy and just completely clipped out of bounds of the level and could not get back on track. And the game would occasionally just unequip whatever weapon I had at the start of a level, and so I'd be like, why am I not doing any damage? And then I'm like, oh, because the game unequipped my weapon for some reason. Weird stuff like that just kept happening to me, and the whole game just feels like very rushed and unpolished. And like, it's 2025. I don't think it's unreasonable to expect a certain level of like quality assurance for a $60 release. I wasn't even trying to break the game or anything or push it beyond its limits. I was just playing it casually and stuff kept breaking. I do want to clarify something that I think some people might not be aware of. The game is developed by Fairplay Labs and published by GameMill Entertainment. So these are two different companies working together. The development team, or the devs, are typically the ones who are actually like coding the game, making the game. And generally, they're typically very passionate and very excited to make a game and just want to do the best job they can and do whatever they can to make the game they're working on fun. The publisher is more like a producer, like they're on the distribution side of things. So whenever there's a decision made for financial reasons, that usually comes from the publisher side of things. People often say that developers are lazy, but I think the truth is more likely that publishers are just greedy. And that feels kind of like the case here. Every now and then, while playing the game, I can feel the passion of the developers leaking through, as there's lots of different references to the different characters. All their move sets are based on either specific abilities from each character or like stuff from certain episodes. There's lines of dialogue that are like directly referencing specific events or episodes. You can feel that there is like passion and creativity like creeping into this game, but everything is just so undercooked, and it just feels like they did not at all have the time that they wanted to work on this game. Like how all 4 Ninja Turtles are in the game, but you can only play as one of them. Why? I don't know. Time crunch could be a very likely factor. So, okay. Who is this game for? As I mentioned, almost all of the characters are specifically from the early 2000s, which makes it feel like they're trying to appeal to the nostalgia of my generation. Unlike All-Star Brawl, which had like a broader scope of characters from Nickelodeon's whole history, this game seems to kind of target my generation specifically. So maybe it's for me, but the game also has this like obnoxiously cutesy art style that I don't really vibe with. Like it looks like it's designed for babies who wouldn't know who half these characters even are. The game's actually very Danny Phantom focused, which like is cool for me, but I've played other games before. I'm an adult, so I'm not as impressed by just things that I recognize. And I could be playing Ghost of Yotei right now. That's a real game made with gamers in mind. Here's where I risk becoming an old man yelling at clouds, but I kind of feel like these types of games were better back when I was a kid. Like, there was kind of this golden age of licensed games. Yes, there was a ton of slop and shovelware, but there was also so much stuff coming out that just statistically, many of the licensed games had to be good. The overall time to make a game from start to finish was also so much shorter that the stuff that AAA studios were putting out didn't feel that different than the stuff that studios like THQ were making. The Spider-Man 2 game was great, the swinging still holds up. The Over the Hedge game is a little hidden gem that I really had a ton of fun with. There were 4 Star Wars games in 2005 alone, and they ranged from being like pretty good to all-time classics. You had weird scenarios like the Origins Wolverine game actually had a longer development time than the movie it was based on, because the studio was already coincidentally working on a Wolverine game before they got the license to tie it into the movie. So that's part of why the movie is dog shit, but the game kind of slaps. Hell, SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom was so good that it got a remake like a year ago. And I kind of like the old Nicktoons games. Volcano Island in particular, both the console and Game Boy Advance versions, are solid platformers. The other thing you had in this era that was truly peak was Blockbuster Video and other video rental places. Most of these like also rented video games, which was a fucking godsend, completely underappreciated by myself in its time. You could rent a game with SpongeBob on the cover for like $5 or something, and either complete it in the week that you had it, or if it wasn't that good, you could like still have some fun with it for a sleepover and then return it without having the guilt of like spending full price on a game. And when you did find the occasional gem, like that Over the Hedge game I was talking about, you could just save up your allowance or wait till Christmas and add it to your collection. There was a lot of crap and slop and shovelware for sure, but the risk of wasting your time or money on something didn't feel as high. I was also a child and was easier to fool with putting SpongeBob on the cover of something, and you know, I'd probably enjoy it. But like I'm 28 now. I can't spend $60 on a game with SpongeBob in it that feels like it was slapped together in a few weeks. Like I got other stuff to do, especially when there are so many other games available right now that you can get for like extremely cheap. On that, let's talk about prices for a second. Right now, you can get Hades 2 for $40, Silk Song for $25, or the original Hollow Knight for $16. Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny is $60, which is not the full price $80 or fucking $90 that a lot of games are nowadays, but still, that feels like a lot for something that is not that impressive. That's almost the same price as Expedition 33, which is $65, and that game's supposed to be incredible, and it's got full big AAA budget energy. Apparently it's a small development team, but it looks top-notch, and it's getting all kinds of Game of the Year buzz. It's supposed to be really good. Could be playing that. I'm playing Danny Phantom Goes to D&D World. There are so many good games out right now for reasonable to incredibly cheap that I just can't think of a good reason to buy this game at full price unless you're making a month of Danny Phantom themed content and you need to talk about something. Pricing can be subjective and everyone has a different financial situation, but if you're charging $60 for this product, I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for something that at least functions properly, and it at least has been like quality assuranced, at least like someone has tested. Also, there's like a DLC for this game that's $20, and all it appears to be is like a costume pack, like one costume for each character. That's it. You can spend nearly the price of Hollow Knight Silk Song to make SpongeBob look slightly different in this game that doesn't even function properly. That shouldn't be a thing that you have to pay for. That's crazy. That's crazy. Especially $20. That's crazy. Please do not buy that. I don't know who would, but like, please don't. I don't know, man. At the end of this game, Vicky is revealed to be the secret final boss, pulling the strings behind all the other girl bosses of the Nickelodeon world. Kind of fits perfectly fine for this game. It is a Timmy Turner focused story, and Vicky is one of the core antagonists of Fairly Odd Parents, so it makes sense that she would be the final boss. She turns into a big dragon, and you gotta fight her. And once again, I clipped out of bounds and just completely cheesed this boss fight. A perfect end to an imperfect game. And then they use the dice of destiny to send everyone home and erase their memories or whatever. I do kind of like this line where they're like debating about if that's a good idea to erase everyone's memories. And Danny's like,
That's not... Never mind. But Jimmy's right.
actually, it's super easy, barely an inconvenience. I do it all the time. I'm constantly resetting people's memories and rearranging the timeline. And so far, it's worked out pretty good for me. But that's basically it. They barely kind of acknowledge that maybe the Nicktoons have met before, and maybe they'll meet one time again, but they won't remember it or something. I don't know. Despite this game featuring many characters that I really love and grew up with, and the rare moments of character and personality that the devs clearly wanted to put into this game, but just like weren't given the resources or time to make even a subpar product, I just don't feel good about supporting this game, even in the context of me making this video out of it. I'm not completely broke or anything. I can afford one $60 game that I didn't like that much, and I'll probably return it in a couple weeks or something. But I was just like severely underwhelmed by the whole experience. It just kind of feels a bit yucky. It's this like sloppy cash grab that was clearly rushed into production, and the devs just weren't given time to like finish this game. Trying to bank on nostalgia for my generation that I won't like notice this sloppy half-assed thing because it's got characters that I know, and it's like I'm 28 now, dude. Like, you gotta offer me more than that. You gotta give me a little something, not just this like slop for babies. That doesn't work on me anymore. There's been 3 of these like Nickelodeon crossover games from this team in the last few years. The brawl games are fine because you can at least kind of get some fun with friends out of them, but like overall I think I'm done for now. I don't really feel good about like buying these games when they're just not that well put together. I like these characters and I like having something to talk about for Danny Phantomonth, but for me at least, I don't think that I could recommend you pick up this game in good conscience, especially not when there are so many other great games available for often less money. Like, it's a perfectly okay game to put on while you're listening to a podcast or something, and if you like see it at the library or something and you're really curious, like sure, check it out if you really, really want to. But please do not spend full price on this game. It is just not worth it. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think of Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny? Have you played it? What is your favorite of the Nicktoons games? Let me know in the comments. Please stick around and consider subscribing for Danny Phantomonth. I did a video earlier this month exploring the concept of if they made a live-action reboot of Danny Phantom, and I think it's pretty fun. You should go check that out. And later on, early November, we're gonna check out the new graphic novel, Danny Phantom Fair Play. I was a big fan of A Glitch in Time, and so I'm excited to see where the story goes. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Bye-bye.